So now that we've made the stairway that goes from level 2 to level 3, let's make the staircase that goes from level 1 to level 2. As you recall, this is what it looks like, and to simplify the construction, we're going to build it in two pieces. First we'll build this section, I call that the back stairway, and then we'll build this section, the front stairway, and then we'll join them together. Very similar to the construction for the level 2 to 3 stairway. There's just a couple little tweaks that we have to make along the way. So to start out, let's talk about the pieces that we need. Again, we need 4 stair walls. These are 2 1/2 by 3 1/4. Then we need a stair base. This is 3 inches by 3/4 inch. Then we need a bottom piece. It's 2 1/2 inches by 3/4 inch. There's just one of each of those two pieces. And then there's 2 of the end walls, and they are 1 inch by 3 1/4 inches. That is all those pieces are medium weight chipboard. Then out of cardstock, we need a piece for our steps that is 1 1/4 by 3 3/4. I've got a piece of white showing here, but I'm going to cut the steps out of craft cardstock like I did for the level 2 to 3 stairs. Then a couple of punched pieces for the railings, just like we had before, and our piece of decorative paper. So let's get started. The first thing we want to do is, just like we did for level 2 through 3 stairs, is to mark and cut our stair walls. Now this one is a little bit different. It has a top section, then a slant, and then it has a bottom flat area over here. But again, we're going to start out with some 3/4 inch measurements to mark this corner up here, and then we'll come up from the bottom left 1 1/2 inch, then come over 3/4 inch and connect the dots. So let's get started. Here's my piece. It is oriented so that the 2 1/2 inch edge is on the top and the 3 1/4 inch is going down. So the first thing I want to do is to mark this area down here. I'm going to measure up 1 1/2 inch and then come across 3/4 inch. And I find it easier just to turn my piece on its side. And again, I would use pencil, but so that you can see it, I'm going to use ink. And I'm going to mark the 1 1/2 inch up. So there's my 1 1/2 inch mark. And then I'm going to just continue that across. Sorry, let me put this where I can see it. Just far enough so that I can measure 3/4 inch, and I'll make that tick mark. So right now we have created this line right here. Now let's create this top line up here. I'm going to turn it upside down and make a line 3/4 inch in. And then measure down there 3/4 inch. So now you can see we have that tick mark. We'll connect the dots. And cut this out, and this piece will be excess. I'm not going to take the time on camera to cut that out, but you'll do that 4 times so that you'll have 4 of these kind of odd shaped backwards L's. The next thing we're going to do is the stair base. And I'll just pull the template out here. So this is our piece that was 3 inches by 3/4 inch. And this has, for this stairway, it has 2 scores. On one end, we're going to score 1/2 of an inch away from the end. So it doesn't matter, just pick an end. So I'm going to just do it over on this end here. Again, we're going to just go kind of midway through, just enough to break the back of that chipboard. So this is important. If we've made this, we're going to flip this over and make a score on the opposite end. So here we made the 1/2 inch score there. So when we flip this over on this opposite end, we're going to make a 3/4 inch score. So this, in effect, creates our top platform, the stair base, and that's the landing platform. So if we were to look on our prototype here, it's the top platform is up here, the stair base comes down, and then the landing platform in the back. So again, just like we did for the first stairwell, we want to add some cardstock joining strips underneath here, and I've got them cut. Let me just put them on here real quick. Because there are the 2 bends this time, we have 3 little sections of the joining strips to attach. We'll put them on both sides just like we did before. And then when we're done installing them, and you will take your time to line them up more carefully than I am here, then we would come back and burnish along here. So now we have our stairwell prepped. Notice right here I've got a little overlap in the tabs, excuse me, and I'm just going to trim that just a little bit just so that there isn't an issue. I don't think it would really be an issue, just no overlap. Okay, so now there's our little stair base prepped, similar to what we had before. Just put this aside for a moment. And we're going to turn our attention to the back end wall. As you recall, we cut 2 pieces that are 1 inch by 3 1/4, and using some wet glue, we just want to join those 2 pieces together. Stack them up, line them up. Give them a little squash. Get rid of that excess glue. It's always handy to have a baby wipe or something handy when you're working with wet glue. I wear an apron, so I just usually wipe my fingers on the side of my apron. So now we have a double thickness for the end wall prepped. Next stage is painting, just like we have done before. We're going to paint our 4 end walls. I'm sorry, our 4 stair walls. We'll paint our stair base. and we'll paint the end wall that the double thickness that we just constructed. Do all the edges, do front and back. So, next, we're going to select two of our stair walls and put the mirror image, and we're going to draw some placement lines. So I like to orient them this way on my craft sheet so that I can easily make my marks. And well, there's two marks. One is 3/4 inch down from the top end. So make your pencil mark there. I just find it easy to mark from left to right, so I'm switching it around because now I want to mark up from the bottom, and this mark is 1 1/4 inches. So we have a pencil line that is 3/4 inch down from the top, and another one that is 1 1/4 inch up from the bottom. Now we're ready to join our stairwell, and it is important to keep the vertical edge, to start with the piece where the vertical edge is on the right, because the back stairwell needs to be going down towards the left. When we look at our little stair base, one end has a 1/2 inch and one end has a 3/4 inch, and you can see when we folded it that it is already oriented correctly to go onto our stair walls. We're going to line up the back edge of the top platform with the back edge of the stair wall, and we will line up the front edge of the 3/4 inch platform with the front edge of our stair wall. So edge goes to edge, edge goes to edge. And then we will always line up the bottom of the platform with our pencil lines. The bottom of the platform with the pencil lines. So let's get started. I'm going to start at the top. This is just like how we did the level 2 staircase, and I'm going to line up the bottom of that platform with the bottom of that line. Would have been easier if I'd taken off the score tape backing to begin with, I think. And then I'm going to not attach the central slanted part yet. I'm going to go down here and do the bottom next. And remember, it's the bottom of the platform aligns with the bottom of the line. Now I hope you can see, if I can get it in the light here right, these edges are matched up here. These edges are matched up here. Bottom of the platforms is on the line, and so now I can secure this central portion. Let me give it a burnish. And we will attach the other stair wall side in the same kind of manner. Taking off our score tape backing. Lining up the edge with the edge and the bottom of the platform with the pencil line. Just do it lightly to begin with in case something needs to be adjusted. Come down here and get this front edge aligned with the front edge there and the bottom on the line. You can kind of peek. I'm peeking underneath here to see where it is. It's hard to show on camera. And then once you get those two things aligned, you can come in here and burnish the middle score tape. So let me burnish. And now we have our slide. It's just a little taller version this time, and it has that part at the bottom that a regular slide has that you land on. Now we're going to add the bottom just to kind of stabilize the assembly. And it's the same kind of thing that we did before. We're going to put wet glue on here and put it right inside flush with the edges. So let's do that. My glue a second to get tacky. I've just put a little piece of patty paper down on my surface so I can keep glue off of it. I'll just kind of squeeze that here and let it set up for a second. Okay. I want to make sure that's set before we go on to the next step. So I'm going to take a couple of Post-its and I'm going to mark a right front on one and back on the other. I kept the template simple so that we would use the same template for both the back and the front. But in order to do that, we have to do a little bit of trimming once it's put together. So, to mark the front, you want to put the tall end on your right and the short end is on the left. That's going to be your front. And then we're going to flip this over so that the tall end is on the left and the short end is on the right, and we're going to mark that the back. The back is going to get trimmed up here at the top so that it is even with the top platform. Let me show you what I mean. So this is the back. I'm just taking my scissors. I have it oriented this way, and I'm going to cut that top leg off, even with the top platform. There it is. There's that first cut. Now we're going to do a little trimming on the front. This one we have to remove a little rectangle, not just a flush cut. But what we want to do is remove this section, and let me just put some pencil marks in here. See if I can get it in the light so you can see it. A little tricky here, my light isn't that great. It's this little rectangle back here. So what I do is I just put my scissors in here again, and now I'm cutting even with this front platform. Just snipping right there to the end till I get to that point. And now I'm going to turn and then take this rectangle off by cutting right there. So on the front side, we've removed this little knot, this piece right there. So let me just show you that again. On the back side, we removed the top platform here, just straight across, cut that off, flush with the top platform here. And on the front, flush with the landing platform, we cut out a little rectangle. Now we want to touch up with paint on, it's especially important on this little teeny piece right here. That will definitely show. These other horizontal cuts are less likely to show, but in case they do, I would touch them up with paint. So let me do that. Once our paint is dry, we can remove our little tags here. And we'll prep to put for putting our steps on. So we're going to go on the top platform, down the slide, and across the landing platform. We're going to do that all in one fell swoop here. Again, if you have wider score tape available, you can use that. Most people have the 1/4 inch, so that's why I'm using that. Okay, we'll set this aside while we make our steps. I'm going to make them out of cardstock, but I want to show you on the template what we're going to do. We start out with a piece that's 1 1/4 inches by 3 3/4 inches. And then we're going to remove a piece that is a 1/2 inch by 3 inches so that you get kind of a L-shaped piece left over. So let me mark and do that. Again, I would do pencil if I was not showing this on camera, so then if there's any stray marks I can erase them. I'm going to come up here. There's my 1/2 inch line, and then I'll come over on this end and mark the 3/4 inch line. You can use a craft knife or scissors to remove. So now we have a piece that looks like that. Now we're going to do some scoring, so I'm going to get out the scoreboard. Doesn't matter which end you start at, because on either end there's going to be a 3/4 inch piece. We're going to score 10 in total, so if we start here at 3/4 inch, and then a second, and our 10th score should end up with this platform here. So with the L facing this way, so it's I've got the long end here and the little stubby end is up here. I want to start, with the L facing toward, the legs facing towards you. Start with a downward fold. And then accordion fold from there. Trying to keep them straight. And then at the end it's just going to fold up. So we end up with this. The platform's up here at the top, then it comes down to a shorter platform down here at the bottom. We put these steps on just like we did before, except for this time I'm going to remember to ink. So I'm just going to stretch them out a little bit. I'm going to using this little Prima chalk ink to act as kind of snow on my steps. I'm going to cover up eventually this bottom one, this little 3/4 inch tab, so it's not as critical. So, and then I've spread them out a little bit, so let me tuck and squish that accordion back. It's always best to have a really tight accordion before you start the install process. So again, we're going to just take the tape backing from the top part of the steps, folding it down out of the way. Now, this platform See how I have the steps oriented? The back, this is the back. The back is towards me. And this platform is going to extend over this edge. So you can see that there, that view. It's extending over that edge. And it's the back edge lines up with the stairs. So let me attach that down. You want to be careful not to press too much in this area right here, because as you recall, the top platform is only a 1/2 inch wide, and that's, you know, it's all based on geometry. In order to get the steps to come down at the proper angle, that landing platform has to be that little bit less in order for the, I won't go into all the mathematics of it, but in order for the hypotenuse to fit into all the little sides of the triangles. So now we're going to remove the score tape backing from the whole remainder. This time what happens is that we line up this piece down here is 3/4 of an inch. Our platform down here is 3/4 of an inch. So we simply extend it down. Might be easier to work from front to back. And line up this edge here. And then come back in and press down. And then come in and get your steps to be positioned properly. And again, you want to be careful not to press on the edges, but you can come in with your tip of your bone folder and crease in the folds there. So now that's basically the back part of this staircase. Let's add railings. Again, you can use decorative cardstock, or I'm using the punched paper. Sorry, I dropped one on the floor. So the important thing here when you're figuring out how long they are is that remembering that this is this landing platform is going to extend out this way towards the front stairwell. So you don't want any railing to be in this area here, because it would be in the middle of the landing platform. So it can come out just a little bit, but not very far. So if I'm using this punched piece, what I'm going to do is again kind of trim off a snowflake. But I'm going to make sure that when I hold it here, that, let me put some white paper behind here so you can see it, that it is not really coming very far in front of that landing. If you were just using a plain piece of decorative paper, you could cut this straight, that line straight right there, you know, and kind of come right up there with your railing. But I have found that I can use, it's about, because remember on this front, this can go inside of here. So I'm going to hold that back. Oh, there's probably about a little 1/8 inch gap right here to where I have my first snowflakes starting, and then I'll just trim off back here. And I'll ink this and put it on with some score tape. So quickly do that. Find the end of the score tape. There it is. So there's the front side. I'll put some paper behind it so you can see. And then for the back side, we have to keep the railing in between the platform up here at the top, and we want to stop it when we get, again, when we get to the landing platform. So I ended up with about 4 snowflakes on the front, but I think for this back it's only about a 3 snowflake wide piece. Because we want to keep it, again, so that it is not getting too far in front of that landing platform. So I'll ink and put some score tape on it. So that's our railings, and we'll put this aside for a moment, and we'll turn our attention to our back end wall. This is the piece that's 1 inch by 3 3/4, and we want to put some decorative paper on this. And so I like about a 1/16 of an inch reveal, so that means I'm going to cut this about 7/8 of an inch wide and 3 1/8 inch tall. That gives me my 16-inch reveal. My inks here. In the level 2 to 3 video, I explained about how I made this paper that I'm using. This is the same covering I'm going to use for the walls of the levels. I like to use wet glue, although that's plenty there, to attach this so I have a little wiggle room. I'm just looking at which edge looks the nicest here. Okay, so we've got that prepped. Now, that sits there for a minute while we talk about our back wall. this wall is not going to get any decorative paper, but you can see that we need to do a little trimming because this is the wall that we cut off here, the back wall. So we're going to mark that and trim that off. I'm just lining it up here with this bottom edge, and then I'll use my craft knife to trim that, keeping it straight here. Should be about a 1/16 inch less than 3/4 of an inch. Oops. And there's no need to touch that edge up because it's going to slide right underneath that paper. So we can go ahead and put some glue on there and attach that. I'm sorry. Do not attach this yet. Just set this aside. We have to wait to put this bottom railing on right there. So put this up here in our little set aside place. And we'll look at the front wall here. Now be gentle when you have it in this position, because this tab is sticking out here and it's preferable not to bend it. So we want to prep this wall to go on the outside here. And first, let's cut for some decorative paper here. Now, because this end wall is going to come on here, I want to cut the decorative paper so that it's a little bit bigger than this. So that it will cover up part of this seam here. Is this crucial? No. You can see if I bring this one up here that I didn't think about that when I did the prototype, and all you end up is with a little bit thicker reveal. So if what I'm going to explain now about cutting this decorative paper seems like a little bit too much, just cut it to be the shape of this end, you know, with your reveal, and then you'll have a little wider part here. I don't think it's bothersome, but just in the interest, I know some people like to have it just right. I'm going to show you how to cut that decorative paper so it will keep that 1/16 inch reveal. So I want to cut a 1 3/4 inch strip to start with. Get it straight here. One 3/4 inches. Check. I'm going, the wall is going on in this orientation. The paper is going to go on in this orientation. So to draw the template, I'm going to put it in this orientation. So this is the back side of my decorative paper. And I'm going to just put a little repositionable glue on here, just so it'll stay put. And the important thing here is to, when you line this up that there's a 1/16 of an inch of the decorative paper hanging off the edge over here. And then mark and cut on those lines. You'll notice there's no paper down here. There's no point in wasting that paper. It's hidden in the landing. So I'm going to remove this. I'm not going to cut my 1/16 inch reveal yet because I may need to do some adjustings of this template, so I'm just cutting right on the lines. And I'm going to set that a piece aside for right now. So I'm getting a little collection of things up in my set aside area. This is our front wall that we were just talking about, and that's going to go on here to sandwich in with this railing. And you'll notice that it's too tall. See right here? It's too tall. We have to cut that little notch like we did before. So I'm just sandwiching them together. I'm going to come in here and mark with my pencil for that notch. Trying to get it in the light so you can see it very well. So we're going to remove that notch just like we did when we put the interior wall on. Before I paint it, I'm just going to check and make sure I cut it how I like it. Oh yeah, that looks pretty good. So again, I'll just touch up this. Most importantly is the little corner, but the whole thing can get touched up. I'm just using a little bit on a Q-tip so it'll dry pretty fast. So now we're ready to attach this end wall. Go ahead and do that, just with some wet glue. Oop, a big blob of glue came out of there. Pardon my reach. Spread some of that excess glue. We don't need that much. We're just making that sandwich and getting these ends aligned nicely. Still have plenty of glue here. Remember, we don't worry about these top edges because they'll get finished later. Okay. Now that we have that on, we can attach this back wall here. Now, you will notice that it's about a 1/16 of an inch wider than the stairway construction. That's because we haven't put this back wall on yet. So don't worry about that. So we'll just put some wet glue on these points. So you want to make sure that it's the front edge of this piece that gets aligned flush. As soon as I get it to hold here a second, I'll show you what I mean. On this front edge, like this is flush, the wall is flush. Here, I'll show you this way. It's flush right there. Just holding it for, and there's, maybe you can see that right back here in the back, it hangs over by a 1/16 of an inch. See if I can get it the right angle. So after that glue sets up, and be a little patient, we're going to take this piece and test fit it. Now I can see that I want to cut off a 1/16 of an inch at the top, basically all the places that I could have to begin with. The top, where I drew my lines, and then also at the bottom. So let me do that. So there's my 1/16 of an inch at the top. If you're more comfortable drawing the line and then cutting, don't cut anything on this side. We want this to remain 1 3/4 inches, and then trim off the bottom edge. Now we'll do a little inking and then we can install that. Now I'm covering up this seam here, which is what I wanted to do, to keep just a 1/16 of an inch reveal this time. We have one last little step and then this piece is done, and that is to add 2 little pieces of decorative paper right here to the top. So I'm taking a moment to cut another little piece to go on the back end. I forgot it was longer because that wall is a little bit longer. So I'm going to cut it at 3/4 of an inch. So 5/8 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch. That should fit a little better. Alright, so there is the back section, and we'll set this aside along with this piece until we finished making the front section in the next video.